Alright, well, hi everybody. So today I'll be going over the Carenado Cessna 170B. I'll show you how to start it up, how to take it off, how to land it, and then do a short review on it. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, well, here we are on the 170. It looks really good on the inside, so we'll go ahead and kind of spin around the cabin here, let you see what it looks like. The doors do open, and so do the windows. Just gotta click on this, it opens the window up, which is kind of neat. We're going to go ahead and close that. And then go through the tablet. So to access the tablet, you just click on the 170 logo here, and it brings up the tablet. It's a pretty standard Carenado tablet. So you've got static elements, which are covers for the plane, chocks, and whatnot. We're going to go ahead and turn those off. And then you have an external power unit. We're going to turn that off too. And then you have the ability to remove the fairings if you want to. I'm going to go ahead and remove them. And then we can show or hide the pilot and the co-pilot. And we can open and close the pilot and co-pilot door from here. And then you have the GPS unit, which you can show or hide. GPS unit's up here. And then we've got the next page, which is startup options. So this is your quick start page, basically. And then you have cold and dark here, which will reset it to how it would be if it were parked. And then your takeoff checklist and your landing checklist. And that'll pretty much do it for the tablet. So we'll go ahead and get rid of that. And then we'll go through the instrument panel here real quick. So I'm going to hide the yokes. So starting up here on the left side, we've got your cylinder head temperature, turn slip coordinator, airspeed indicator, and attitude indicator. Moving over here to the center, we've got an altimeter, your directional gyro, and climb indicator. And then over on the right side, in front of the co-pilot, we've got your RPM gauge, oil pressure gauge, oil temperature gauge, carburetor temperature gauge, and your amp meters. And then the HSI is here below all of that in front of the co-pilot. On the left side again, we've got your radio and transponder. And then on the floor down here, we've got your flaps lever and pitch trim. And then the center, in between the seats, is where the fuel selector is. We're not going to mess with this. It's by default set to both, and both is what you need to have it set to start it, so we're not going to mess with it. And then up here, kind of in the right corner of the windscreen, kind of on the leading edge of the wing, we've got a outside air temperature gauge, thermometer, whatever you want to call it. And this also doubles as an inlet for outside air. So you open this up and it would, at least in the real thing, let air in, but this is a game. So you also have one on the left side of the cockpit or the cabin. And then over here on the above the co-pilot door here, we've got your fuel gauge. You also have one over the pilot door. And then on the roof here, we've got your floodlights and cabin light. When the and they do work, the battery's just off. The floodlights will just at night make the instrument panel here light up red. And so that'll pretty much do it for the instrument panel. So we'll go ahead and start it up. Now the first thing we want to do is make sure that the mixture here is set to rich, and rich is in and lean is out. And we're going to want to come over here and crack the throttle a little bit. And we want to prime it twice. So we'll click on the primer here twice. Then we'll want to turn the battery on. And as long as we're here, we'll go ahead and turn the avionics master on, turn the nav lights on, and we'll turn the beacon light on. Now the landing and taxi lights are on this switch, and your landing lights are the first pull, and the taxi lights are the second pull. So, there's that. And then we're pretty much good to go. So we're going to come over here to the key, and we're going to turn the magnetos over here to both. And then we're going to pull the starter. And there we go. We've got the 170 started, so we'll head out here to the runway and take it off. Okie dokie. Well, there's really not that much that you need to worry about with the 170. It taxis pretty easily. The only thing I will say is that you probably don't want to put too much brake pressure into it when you're turning sharply. It has a tendency to want to spin the tail around when you do that. As far as taking it off goes, you're going to need to put the flaps down to about 10 degrees. 20, I guess, if you're on a short runway. Either way, though, it does pretty much get up and get off the ground pretty quickly. So if you really want to get off the ground quickly, though, just put them all the way down. You can lift off at about 50 miles an hour. So we'll go ahead and put the flaps down here, and then release the parking brake and throttle up. You won't really have to hold your nose forward too much in this one. It does a pretty good job of lifting the tail wheel off the ground about 35 miles an hour. So just try and keep it straight on the runway. And then you want to pull back at about 55, and you should lift off about 60 miles an hour. Go ahead and put the flaps up. Now, there isn't any information contained in the manual about the stall speed, so I kind of messed around with that. Stall speed in this plane seems to be about 45 miles an hour, maybe a little bit less. Your stall warning is going to come on for you at about 50. It gives you kind of a nice little buffer before you actually do stall. As far as flying it goes, it's a pretty easy plane to fly. It's actually kind of a nice plane to fly too. You can pretty much just fly it with trim. Don't have to worry about too much. But now that we're up here, we're going to want to reduce the throttle a little bit so that we sit at about 2400 RPM. This isn't because you're going to damage the engine. You don't have to worry about that with this plane. You only have the standard Microsoft Flight Simulator damage system, so you can overstress it and overspeed it, but you don't have to worry about blowing the motor or anything. Now, you do get two versions of this plane, so you get the standard version that I'm flying, and then you get a Bush version that has Bush tires on it. I think they call it the 170 Tundra. But between the two of them, they fly pretty much the same way. The Tundra version is a little bit faster. It's about 15 miles an hour faster than this one, and this one's cruising speed is 115 miles an hour, so the Tundra version would be 130. Now, the only thing I think is a little strange in this plane is the kind of default camera angle that you have here, because you're looking down, I think, a little too much. I think you need to be looking more up, maybe at this angle here, so you're looking more out than you are down. But that's a pretty easy fix. Just, set up a custom camera, or, move the camera, however you move the camera. And so we'll come in here and bring it in for a landing. Now, you're going to want to put your flaps all the way down. You want to be below 100 miles an hour to do that. Not because you're going to damage anything, it just it tends to pop the plane up if you're above 100. So we'll want to come in here at about 75 miles an hour. Kind of maintain 75 with your flaps all the way down. You're going to need to have the RPMs at about 1700, maybe 1600. You probably also will trigger the stall warning before you do set down. It comes on really at about 50, and you should be setting down right about 50. So we're getting close to being over the runway. We'll go ahead and reduce the throttle a little bit here, about to 1500. And then we'll reduce it some more, and we'll pretty much just let it glide in here. I want to pull back on the stick to get it to flare a little bit, and I'm still going to bounce it, but that's not bad. We'll want to pull the stick back, or the yoke, depending upon what you have, and hold it back to ground the tail wheel. And that's pretty much it for the 170, so we'll go into the review here, and that'll be it for today. Alrighty, well, if you would like to purchase the 170, you can buy it from the Microsoft Flight Simulator Marketplace. It's about $15. It's the only place that it's available, but you are technically getting two planes You get the standard version that I've been flying, and then you get the Tundra version. They're not very different, though. One has bush tires and is a little faster, and that's about it. There's not too much to the 170. It's a fun little general aviation aircraft. It's not particularly fast. It's not aerobatic, but it is easy to fly. Landing is a little bit more challenging. It did take me a few tries just to get that one bounce. The texture quality is really good. The interior looks great. So does the exterior. It comes with 7 paint schemes. They're the same for both aircraft versions, though. The sound quality is pretty good. I can't really remember what the 170 sounded like, but either way, it sounds good, even if it might not sound like the real thing. The only real problem I have with it is pretty minor, and that's the default camera angle. But overall, it's a fun little general aviation aircraft. I can't knock it. It does look really good, and that's pretty much going to be it for today. So thanks for watching, and I hope there's a next time.